Hello and welcome to Fix Wargaming. So today we are going to talk about how to fix Warhammer 40k 10th edition. So please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Really helps the channel, helps us grow. So you may play 10th edition and think the game is in a really good place. This video is probably not for you, or maybe you might not have realized some of the things that are going on with 10th edition. Especially sort of maybe in a more competitive way. So I'm going to go through a list of things and then talk about things that maybe could be done, like just ideas, you know, maybe GW take them on board and run with them. I'm sure that plenty of people are giving GW ideas on how to fix it. So the first one we're going to talk about is towering. So towering is a very strong mechanic that allows you to see everything if it's not completely out of line of sight. So you can see through ruins that are obscuring normally, but if they've got windows, then knights can see. Obviously, knights being very tall, that means they can see over a lot of stuff and be able to get line of sight on a lot of stuff. I believe that the weekend just gone, Brad Chester was playing Eldar and he played against knights, and basically it was over turn one when knights won the roll-off. Which obviously isn't a good game mechanic for anyone. It's just sad. And no one really wants to play a game like that. So I don't know what the fix is necessarily. Maybe take the towering keyword away completely so they can't be shot and they can't shoot. Or maybe towering only works against vehicles and monsters. So you can see vehicles and monsters if you're towering. If you're a vehicle monster, you can see the towering thing, and then the infantry can see the tower as well. Maybe, I don't know, but then does that lean into people just bringing loads of anti-tank infantry? I don't know. I'm sure there's people cleverer than me coming up with fixes, but these are just ideas, throwing them out there. I'd love to hear what your ideas as well, so please in the comments put ideas of maybe things you've thought of that might work. The next one is devastating wounds. Now, devastating wounds as a mechanic I don't think is dreadful. I think that there's a lot of ways to manipulate it, such as rerolls to wound. Maybe if that rerolls to wound were reroll failed wounds, it might be a little bit better, so you couldn't fish for those sixes for devastating wounds. And also the fact that you can anti something, so critical wounds on a 4+ then trigger devastating wounds, also seems a little bit too strong. On top of that, you've then got you know, things that we could maybe then fix it. I thought maybe you could just have it on damage 1 and damage 2 weapons, because the spillover damage is massive on devastating wounds as well. And maybe that's a bit too much. Like, keep the anti-tank guns for the anti-tank and the anti-infantry for the anti-infantry, and then the anti-infantry guns, you know, can maybe do a few mortal wounds, the odd mortal wound to the bigger stuff. So yeah, it's just an idea. The other thing is you could, like I say, maybe stop the manipulation with stuff like fate dice and things like that on devastating wounds, plus not being able to re-roll so much could help maybe not trigger so many. So yeah, I don't think devastating wounds is the worst thing in the game, but it's just another thing that I've heard people complain about and talk about. So then moving on, there is the fly keyword and the mechanic of fly now. So I think fly is, it's a bit of a shame how fly works, because I feel like the measuring up and over, and you know, you have to play on really low terrain to really make any of your fly units effective. So for the infantry, if you're playing on ruins, infantry is fine because they can just move through it. So the fly infantry are absolutely fine. The trouble is with all the monsters and vehicles, really restricts their movement, and bikes, like flying bikes and things like that. And I just feel like maybe it's too much. One of the fixes I thought they could do is put it back to how it was, but maybe if you move through terrain, you -2 inches off your movement. I mean, to be honest, they've already taken movement off so many things. Most bikes have gone down from 14 to 12. A lot of tanks have gone down in movement. So there's a lot of things that have been reduced in movement anyways, and then have to measure up over terrain just seems a little bit too much. And then actually what happens is makes a lot of those units not takeable, or, you know, nowhere near as good as they should be having the fly keyword, such as like the monolith that just can't move anywhere because it can't fly over anything. Okay, so next up, I'm going to talk about the wholly within rule. So you have to be wholly within a ruin to be able to shoot out of it if it has windows. So my biggest issue with this is that if you're just on it slightly, everyone can see you, but you can't see them. I just think it's a bad rule. It's the same with towering in ninth. Like, we could see the towering units, but they couldn't see us. So it just felt a little bit bad. So I think that the way around it is just to put the rule back to 9th edition, because if you're in or within it, you can be seen, you can shoot out, they can shoot in. It's like a really good rule. And it's simple. I just think it's perfect. It's a perfect rule, works with all terrain. You don't have to then have these big bases on terrain, so you can fit a land raider on there just in case it wants to shoot out. I just think it's way, way better. And then we are going to talk about melee. So melee and the movement with melee, I think they got this wrong. And melee feels really long-winded now. Having to like charge, then you have to go into base to base, then you have to get in base to base for the next line, and you're trying to move models around. And not only that, you can then try and manipulate that by taking the models at the back that can't get in base to base and blocking off the ones that can get into base to base. So then you can get movement. And it just seems really, it's just a bad rule. It's, you putting all this effort into like moving, and it's just bad. I think you don't necessarily have to go completely back to 9th edition, but even if you said, like, they're trying to stop the big movements and stringing out to objectives. Even if you said that every model has to end closer, one model has to end in base to base or engagement range, and every other model has to move closer to that the unit you're charging, I think that sort of sorts it. And then just say the first line has to be in base to base, the second within ½ inch. It's good. Like, and then just consolidate as normal. Like, I just don't think you need all of this, that much restriction, and it just makes it so much harder to play, and the fluidity of the melee is really bad. I also think that melee don't hit quite hard enough. I think they're almost there. I just think they need to up it slightly with some of the melee units on how hard they hit, because you do have to get to these places to hit, whereas with guns you can sit back and shoot. And I feel like sometimes you get someone with a melee unit, it doesn't really do anything, and then it's a bit of like oh, I feel bad, and then someone can drop out and everyone shoots you and you're dead. So yeah, I think that maybe melee needs a little bit of a boost in the strength and just the damage output that they're doing. However they want to do that, I mean, maybe that will come with codexes, who knows. So there's obviously also the balance between the armies is way off at the moment, and I mean, that's just a completely different scenario. I'm not even going to go into that. That can be fixed with points and, you know, FAQs, I'm sure, and writers, but there are things like towering. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is indirect fire. So I think indirect fire, I think they should change it back to the 9th edition rule, where you get +1 ballistic skill and +1 to your save. I still don't think the save should be stackable with benefit of cover, but the trouble isn't, now everything ignores cover, so you're not getting the benefit of cover anyway. And then, as in a lot of these out of line of sight shooting ignores cover. And then there's things that have got heavy, so they get +1 to hit. So they're getting -1 to hit, but then they get +1 to hit, so they're hitting on normal anyway. So I feel like you shouldn't be able to shoot with heavy. Like, the heavy keyword should be taken off if you're shooting out of line of sight. You shouldn't be able to use it. And you should get +1 to your ballistic skill. Like, it's too effective. In my mind, what indirect fire should be doing is chip damage. You should like kill maybe a last couple of chaff off of an objective, or chip something down a little bit for then other stuff to shoot at it. What would be good is if you shot at it, you have to take a battle shock test from like the artillery, you know, like it's like artillery. It's not meant to be that accurate, but it's like suppresses you, or it can take -1 off of your movement, which some of them do. So there's things like that. I think that it could really, these changes could really help the current state of Warhammer 40k 10th edition, in my mind. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know if you think I'm completely off the mark. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But let me know what your ideas are. Maybe you've thought about some things, or there's something else that I haven't spoke about that you're like, I think this needs fixing and this is how they should do it. But let us know in the comments and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.